Good afternoon. If you're in the back and want to move up a little bit, you're more than welcome to do that. We're pleased that we have a full house today. Good afternoon and welcome to a very special day at Northwestern Oklahoma State University as we celebrate the legacy and impact of Mr. Wayne Lane. Today you will hear from family, friends, and colleagues of Mr. Lane. But if you'll allow me just a brief point of personal privilege, I'd like to make just a couple of comments. You will notice that today's program flyer is printed in black and white. While that color scheme is appropriate for a man who spent a career teaching journalism, it has a deeper meaning for many of us who knew Mr. Lane. You see, Mr. Lane lived a life defined by the contrast of black and white. There was right and there was wrong. You either had the facts or you didn't. And if you didn't have the facts, it wasn't going in the Northwestern News. While it may seem impossible to live and work in such absolutes today, Mr. Lane showed hundreds of brash young journalists that it was not only possible, but it was easy. Just do the right thing. Teaching those kinds of life lessons is what separates the great teachers from the good ones. Great teachers serve as lifelong mentors, and Wayne Lane did for so many students. I have always been extremely proud to be associated with Northwestern, but today I swell with a little more pride because naming this newsroom after Mr. Lane is clearly the right thing to do. At this time, it is an honor to introduce the president of Northwestern Oklahoma State University, Dr. Janet Cunningham.
This is a very exciting day, and we're kind of in a long hallway, but what better place to have an event like this than a place that Mr. Lane walked a lot. Good afternoon. It is a distinct honor for Northwestern to welcome the family and friends of Mr. Lane for the dedication of the Wayne L. Lane Northwestern Newsroom. We are honored to recognize the legacy of Wayne Lane and his contributions to Northwestern. For most of his life, he dedicated himself to this institution and this community, but most of all, to his students. From 1959 until his retirement in 1988, Mr. Lane served in numerous roles, all at the same time. Lots of hats. He first and foremost was a teacher of journalism, but he also supervised publication of the Northwestern News and the Ranger Yearbook, and served administratively as Director of Public Relations. It is hard to imagine the countless hours that he spent in this newsroom and in his adjoining office. The commitment to his craft and his personal commitment to excellence serves as our example to all of our current faculty and students. One of my great hopes is that naming this newsroom after Wayne Lane will provide an opportunity for current and future students to gain an appreciation for the trailblazing work he did in developing a communications department at Northwestern. This commitment was recognized in 1987 as he was awarded the university's prestigious John Sheffield Teacher of the Year Award. Upon his retirement in 1988, Lane was given the lifetime title of Professor Emeritus. Even after retirement, Mr. Lane continued contributing to the university he loved so much. He served as a founding member of the Northwestern Sports Hall of Fame Committee and the Northwestern Historical Preservation Task Force. To commemorate the university's centennial in 1996, Lane authored the book Northwestern, A Centennial History, which serves as the definitive history of the university. Great careers like those of Wayne Lane usually involve a partnership. During his time at Northwestern, Wayne was joined in all of his endeavors by his wife, Bettilou, who also worked at the university and served as a second mother to many of his students. I've been told that homecoming was one of Mr. Lane's most favorite times, so it seems fitting that on the day of Northwestern's signature celebration, we celebrate the life and legacy of Wayne Lane. It is my hope that the Lane family and the students he served for so many years will view this dedication as not only a fitting tribute to him, but also a very special and public way to say thank you to one of the most special members of the Northwestern family. Thank you.
Thank you, President Cunningham. I told John Barton the other day that I had asked Terry Wynn to speak at today's event since he possessed many of the same qualities and traits as Mr. Lane. John quickly responded, "You know, brevity is not one of them." Nonetheless, Terry was one of the lucky ones who had the opportunity to both work and study with Mr. Lane. I also had the privilege of both studying and working with Terry, and much of the success I've had in my career I owe to his guidance. Terry is currently serving as Vice President for University Relations and Chief Human Resources Officer at Oklahoma Christian University, where his wife Tina is also a professor of psychology and family studies. Please welcome a great friend, Mr. Terry Wynn.
Well, thanks, President Cunningham, Vice President Valencia. It's really an honor for me to get to be here and represent the students who studied under Wayne for so many of those years. It could have been any number of you because even just in the last hour since we've been gathering here, I've met with so many of you who could have been up here and telling wonderful stories and offering the same kind of testimony to Wayne Lane's greatness that I will offer. You know, when you observe the qualities and the virtues that are achieved at the level that Wayne Lane did, it's really appropriate that we take a moment, that we observe it carefully, that we record it, that we make a marker, as we are here today to do. Make a marker, as President Cunningham said, for future generations to know the greatness that walked these halls, to know the kind of person that walked these halls, that occupied this office, and who taught so many lessons. I was telling Wayne's sons earlier today that there's not a day that goes by, not a professional dilemma I face, not a decision that I make that I don't remember some advice, some counsel, some lesson that Wayne Lane taught me. And it is always valuable to be able to apply to the decisions in my life and in my career. If I have achieved anything in my career, it is in large measure because of the work of Wayne Lane and the attention that he gave me during those critical years of formation. So today's event is to make a marker, and that is right. And names are important. We're naming the newsroom. You know, I say names are important. Tina and I considered that a pretty important thing when we discovered that our firstborn, our son, was coming. And I went to Mr. Lane as I was working for him at the time, and I said, would it be okay? I said it kind of sheepishly because it was kind of, approaching greatness. And I said, would it be okay if we were to name our son after you? I would really like to name him Lane. And he, as he always did, humbly and graciously said yes. He would be honored by that. And so our son's name is Kennedy Lane. And I know there are several others. My best friend, James Smith, his son, James also marked time in this newsroom and was influenced by Mr. Lane. And his son is named Lane Daniel Smith. And so naming is important. And why we name, we wanted our son to to understand that his name meant something to aspire to, something to emulate. And so all of his life, we've been telling him, and of course early on he had the privilege of being around him here at Northwestern, but we've been telling him about the greatness and the virtues of Wayne Lane. And so I'm going to just share 3 of those virtues. I could share many more, but hopefully these will capture the most important. The first is that Wayne Lane was a great journalist. Even before he came to Northwestern, he was an accomplished editor and writer. He had a successful career at the University of Oklahoma and in Wichita Falls, and had really made a mark as a journalist. And that culminated, of course, with his authorship of the first 100 years history of Northwestern, which I hope you all have had a chance to read. It's must reading for any true Rangers, I would say. He was also a great teacher. And by that I mean he was a great teacher of the subject that he taught. He was committed to his discipline, but he was a great teacher of students as well. He taught us lessons. He met us where we were. He always made us feel as though we could do better than what we were able to do at the time that he taught us. And we always grew under his tutelage. Everybody who came under his teaching eye grew as a professional. And many of you, as I've talked to you earlier today, many of you have benefited in your careers from that teaching. But as a teacher, he was also a great professional educator. He was a great colleague. And I see John Barton back here. And by the way, I should say thank you, because I understand the idea for this was Johnny's, and I very much appreciate that, though I'm not at all surprised. And he was a great colleague. No one who ever worked on the faculty at Northwestern that I ever heard ever had anything but positive things to say about Wayne Lane. And that's pretty hard to do if you're the advisor to the campus newspaper. He was universally liked, universally respected, and that's really hard when you're telling the truth the way he did. He never accepted the idea that you had to be harsh with the truth, but he never compromised on the principle of telling the truth and of being accurate and the principles of his discipline. You know, I'm privileged to and honored to work at Oklahoma Christian University now. But I will tell you, from 1979 to 1983, right here in this room, I attended Oklahoma Christian University. The sermons weren't preached, they were lived. They were the examples. They were the lessons. And they were taught by Wayne Lane. A better Christian example there could never be. And that is the legacy that I wanted to share. Okay. That was the legacy I wanted to share with my son. That was what I wanted to hold up and say, be like him. Your name calls you to do that. And so I offered the same admonition to future Northwestern News students and faculty who come through these halls as well, to be like Wayne, be like Mr. Lane, a better teacher, a better colleague, a better person there never was. And so with that in mind, also, you mentioned the partner. Part of the thing that made this room so great was the family atmosphere. And Bettilou was a huge part of that. Those Wednesday evenings, those marathons that we spent almost all night, we always looked forward to that hour, either just before or after choir practice, because Bettilou would be here with that chicken pot pie or that pot roast or just the best food, and she would feed us and mother us and nurture us, and it made it all worthwhile. I think many of the staff would time their arrival in the newsroom to get here just for Bettilou's dinner. And we, of course, also enjoyed our mascot, our little sister, Rachel, who was a regular visitor and made the newsroom a better place because of her presence as well. Well, it is really a privilege for me to be a part of this. I just wanted to share with you my memories and the thoughts that I recall about the greatness of Wayne Lane. So I thank you for this dedication, for this opportunity to remember him and to hold that example up for future generations. So well done. Thank you.
Both Dr. Cunningham and Terry have alluded to the fact that the great ones usually have a great partner. And Wayne Lane had a great one in Bettilou. However, Bettilou, I am going to apologize to you for the numerous times that we unnecessarily kept Mr. Lane from coming home at a reasonable hour on Wednesday night when we were putting the newspaper together. He never complained, but every now and then we'd get that momentary look that told us that maybe our focus had drifted for just a little bit and it was time to get back to work. But we do thank you for sharing him with us on those Wednesday nights, because you'll never know how much those of us who were lucky enough to work on the Northwestern News, how much that meant to us. It is truly an honor and a privilege to introduce Bettilou Lane.
You mentioned you would get that look. How many of you, I'm looking at family first, how many of you, but how many students here, maybe faculty, how many of you received that lifted eyebrow? Wow. Well, you know, I can sort of lift my left one, but my right, try it. He could do either one, you know, but that's a warm, fun memory that he leaves, and he loved fun, and that you had on Wednesday nights. I never saw such a patient man. That you could let the fun roll, and then you know with the look or the eyebrow what to do. Well, I wonder now, as I get into this, how many times his eyebrow would lift. So, Wayne, here we go. Well, I started with about 6 pages and then whittled it down to 3. And when I shared, bounced a little bit off of one of our many extended sons, Steve, I ended up with 1. So I think he was happy and I didn't get a lifted eyebrow. Wayne Lane definitely has his own legacy. Here, these halls, this building, this whole campus. But the legacy he leaves within his family is immeasurable. It's a legacy left with us that encompasses many and varied walks of life. That of being a Christian, a son, a brother, classmate and student, a military man, husband, father, beloved relative, teacher, colleague, friend. Among all the varied hats that he wore each with pride, with dignity, yes, with love, along with the deepest passion ever. However, I'm hard-pressed to admit that it seems his passion for Northwestern was among the greatest of these. Mr. Northwestern, if you please, President Cunningham, would have been an appropriate title for Wayne. His life and each breath that he took was always in support of Northwestern. He made an impact. He left his mark. His commitment, his dedication for this institution is this very day being commemorated. Many thanks to you, each one and all, for your part in making this happen, especially to you, President Cunningham, along with John Barton, Steve Valencia, for the idea for pursuing this special permanent memorial. Also, many thanks to Northwestern's Board of Regents and their stamp of approval. Special thank yous to so many behind the scenes who made it happen, such as those case girls, Valerie and Angela, and the faculty in the Mass Communications Department. An extra special thanks to each one of you, each one and all, for being here with us as we celebrate this awesome dedication for a unique and awesome Wayne Lane. You, Wayne students, were often quite counted as blessings to and for him, because there were times when he would see a glimpse of your implementing what was learned in the classroom, or perhaps was learned from his own example. Then later, as you asserted yourselves in your own careers, this too was rewarding. This too added blessings that he enjoyed, he treasured. I reflect back to times when I've heard Wayne express that when he had his very first chance, his very first classroom to teach journalism, he felt inadequate because of a lack of practical experience. But he had to begin, tough as it was at that time. He further stated that he quickly learned not to bluff one's way through with wrong replies. It will definitely come back to haunt you, he said. He quickly advised that one thing learned early in his role as a teacher, it's all right to say, I don't know. However, he added, I'll find out. And then he urged one, you must really follow through on that statement. Wayne actually enjoyed wearing hats. He didn't particularly do so while on campus. However, many of us remember particular hats that he enjoyed. Yes, I counted his hats that are hanging over the doorways on the wall. Adds up to be quite a number. He particularly enjoyed collecting as well as wearing baseball-type hats. And yes, there are many Northwestern hats to share. Due to Wayne wearing many hats during his lifetime, this hat is very significant. This hat was worn downtown, a homecoming much like today, when he had his book signing, the book Northwestern Oklahoma State University, A Centennial History. If you don't have a copy, I wonder if we might help you get one. I've read it through. If you have one, continue reading. It is beautifully done. I wish we could have plugged in some recorder, some way of the wealth of information that he had that he was unable to put condensed into a book form. Well, there were many Masonic events too that he wore this hat to. So I think it's time to say hats off to you, Dr. Cunningham. Hats off to you, John Barton. Hats off to you, Steve Valencia and Terry Lynn. A final hats off to you all for loving our Wayne Lane. Thank you for this tribute. I'm anxious to see. They've not allowed me to view. And I'm anxious to go in and view within. But thank you from the depths of our hearts. Myself, my family are indebted to you. We feel this is a right thing to do, very deserving for our Wayne Lane. So thank you again And let's go Northwestern, ride, Rangers, ride.
Thank you, Bettilou. Appreciate it very much. To permanently mark today's dedication, the university will place 2 pieces of art in the newsroom to celebrate the contributions of Wayne Lane. The first is a display commemorating today's event with a brief biographical sketch of Mr. Lane, and the second is a plaque proudly naming the newsroom the Wayne L. Lane Northwestern Newsroom. At this time, I'd ask Bettilou, President Cunningham, to come forward as we unveil these 2 pieces. Ladies and gentlemen, Northwestern Oklahoma State University officially names this room as the Wayne L. Lane Northwestern Newsroom. Well done. While this concludes the formal portion of our event today, we ask that you take time to tour the Wayne Lane Newsroom, to take photographs, to visit with family and friends. We have refreshments available in the east end of the hallway. We want you to be able to spend some time and visit with the Lane family and enjoy this day. We thank you all for being here today, and I know Mr. Lane would say, let's beat East Central. Thank you.